So anarchists have always been not only internationalists, but anti-nationalists. And what this meant in practice is that they were not only not patriots of their home countries and home states, but that they also extended solidarity through both word and action towards anarchists and workers and those in struggle elsewhere, oftentimes even to the point of risking life and limb. So examples from the United States, there are several examples of this. The earliest of which is in the attempted Cuban Revolution of the 1890s, when Cubans were fighting for independence from the Spanish Empire. A number of not only Cuban anarchists who were living in the United States returned to fight against the Spanish Empire, but Spanish immigrants and Italian immigrants who were living in the United States, many of whom had never been to Cuba, traveled there to fight on behalf of struggle for national liberation. Fast forward a couple decades to 1910, 1911, when revolution breaks out in Mexico. A revolution which incidentally had partially been sparked by and planned by Mexican anarchists, both living in Mexico and living in the United States. In that instance, you had a few hundred anarchists coming from Canada, as far north as Vancouver, as far east as Philadelphia, who went to Mexico. These men were Italian anarchists, they were Swedish, Native-born American, African-American. There's even reports of a Chinese restaurant owner taking up arms alongside the anarchist Mexican revolutionaries in northern Mexico, where they briefly conquered the cities of Mexicali and Tijuana until they were driven out by federal forces. The most large-scale example of this would be the Spanish Civil War of 1936 to 1939, in which Spanish anarchism played a large role. The Spanish anarchists were one of the largest forces within the Republican section of Spain. And it's fairly well known that thousands of members of the so-called international brigades, which were established by the International Communist Movement, went and fought in Spain, including the American Abraham Lincoln Brigade, as it was called. What's not known so widely is that there are also at least 2,000 or 3,000 anarchists who came from across the globe. Foreign anarchists, many of whom, again, had never been to Spain, but who went there to fight alongside their Spanish comrades. They were fighting not to defend the democratically elected republic. They were fighting to protect and expand the social revolution, the economic and political revolution that was underway in the Republican-held parts of Spain under the guidance of anarchists. They were there for, as one Italian anarchist put it, they were there to fight for a patria without borders, right? A homeland or a nation without borders. It didn't matter that it happened to be in Spain. It could have been anywhere. They would have gone, they would have fought for this cause. And at least a couple hundred of these international volunteers, again, came from the United States. Italians, Irishmen, first and second generation Eastern European Jews, native-born Americans, who went, took up arms. Many of them died. Many ended up being imprisoned either by Franco's forces, or they fled to France afterwards, where they were then interned by the Vichy regime, and then, in many cases, handed over to Nazis. Some ended up in concentration camps. But they were fighting on behalf of an anti-nationalist ideal for the creation of a world in which it would matter, and to them it didn't matter where these struggles were taking place. It was a matter of wherever people were struggling to create this new world, a new world without borders, without patriotic governments sending people to war. They would go there. They would risk life and limb, and many did so.